Welcome to We Question and Learn. This is Tom Pies. This program is underwritten by the Lord Corporation, increasing the value of customers' products using adhesives, coatings, and systems for controlling shock, motion, and noise on the web at lord.com. And by Strategy Solutions, a business development firm that provides strategic planning, market research, and project management. These services to private corporations, faith and community-based nonprofits, and communities on the web at getstrategy.com. This is Tom Pies with Chris Rudd, and welcome to our studios.
Thanks, Tom.
Chris Rudd, what is sales today?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Well, ironically, sales today hasn't necessarily, the fundamentals of it haven't necessarily changed. It's being able to apply those fundamentals to the right person at the right time is what's tricky, because time is such a precious resource these days for those who you're calling and or trying to get in front of, and also for you as an individual. And so the ability to get your message in front of that person at the right time when they're willing to listen to it is where the trick comes in.
Yeah.
Particularly add to the fact that communication in and of itself has been splintered. So in essence, everybody likes to consume information in a different way, and they now have the ability to consume it in the way that they want to. The problem on the sales side is I don't know which way you want to get the information that I have.
Yeah.
So I have to try a bunch of different things in order to hopefully catch your attention. And so that's where the trick comes into play in the process is, hey, we have something of value for you. That's all sales is. Mm-hmm. I want to show it to you or tell you about it or offer it to you. Now I have to leverage social media, use email, use voicemail, potentially do a stop by and a visit, use direct mail, get that message in front of that person in all of those multiple ways, but then add to the fact that you have to confirm prior to doing all of that that that's even the right person that you should be talking to. Imagine, if you will, you do all of the great things that you want to do in terms of the process. You connect with them on LinkedIn. You maybe bump into them at a networking event. You send them emails. You leave a voicemail. But it turns out that they're not the actual decision maker related to what you're trying to sell, or even an influencer for that matter. So you could spend months on end trying to court that individual who never returns your call, never gets back to you, only to find out that they're not even the right person, which it's no fault of theirs to say, well, I'm not buying that, because it has nothing to do with me in my position if I'm the person trying to be sold. And innately, since I don't have that much time, I'm not necessarily going to do you a favor, potential Mr. Salesperson, and say, really who you have to talk to is XYZ.
You just answered the next question. Thank you for doing that. So fortitude? Is it fortitude? Is it wisdom that causes you to be a good caller, so to speak?
It's actually a phrase that we developed called militant diligence, okay? So we try and apply militant diligence to everything we do.
And you're not being aggressive.
It's being. If you separate the phrase in and of itself, being militant isn't. People associate that with military and thus aggression, but militant is actually just, going at it in the same fashion every time, which in essence is also diligence. So putting both on top of each other is why the approach works. All right, is diligently applying a militant approach to the process. Thus, militant.
So diligence. We have two things going here. We have a person who wants to sell, and then you have the person who hires you to sell. Mm-hmm. You've been both.
I have.
Yeah, you've been both. So how do you match those two together? And you've lived through this, I know.
Yeah. Well, innately, most people don't want to sell. So it's all the other qualities that you need. In an individual to become an effective salesperson. I, to this day, don't feel like I'm actually selling anything. Oh. I feel like I'm providing a service to those that need that which is being offered by whomever I'm selling for.
You've taken the pressure off yourself.
Well, I guess I've tricked myself into believing that. But if I go in just saying I'm pushing and I'm selling, then I'm not doing anybody a service. So whoever I'm working with or for, I feel that what they have to offer is the best available. You have to feel like that, number one. Mm-hmm. And number two, that people actually need it. If at any point the salesperson doesn't feel like that, it's not going to go well. So they have to be the biggest advocate of that which they're trying to provide as a value to somebody, as well as a firm believer that that which they're trying to provide is actually needed in the community.
So this old concept, for those of us who've been selling for years, the sales funnel, there's nothing wrong with that concept. Is
Not
there?
at all. In fact, I think that could be the most overused word in our day-to-day vocabulary at my firm, RAYN Business Development, which is what's going on in the sales funnel. And the sales funnel isn't about how many people are in it. It's not about that at all.
Really?
Right? So in the I guess you could call it back in the day, there was theories around it's all a numbers game.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there are numbers associated with it, but it's more about movement in the funnel than it is about the total funnel in and of itself. So you can have a funnel of 10 and still have effective results if you're trying to move people forward. So every day at RAYN, we try and score, we call it a point system, we try and score points. And we only get points for ourselves, and it's our own self-check. So this comes back to your question of how do I tie management and being a salesperson together. Being a true salesperson, you should be able to manage yourself. All right. So we put a point system into place not for the purposes of being micromanaged, but rather for them to self-check. And so it's a weekly goal that they hit as opposed to a dollar goal, combined with a monthly review of how that went. And so movement forward in the funnel scores a series of points, from moving it from a very beginning call is a low number of points to the next stage versus if you get it to the point of proposal, it's a high number of points. All right, so it's all about movement in the funnel. And coming back to that adage of I've been calling the wrong person for 3.5 months, we work on training ourselves to go, if I'm not getting a return call anybody else in the organization and try and figure out who the right person is. That's movement. Don't waste time leaving voicemails and emails and whatever to what potentially could be the wrong person. In every organization, the decision-making culture is different. And in today's organizations, the decision-making culture is very different from before in that decision makers involve a lot of influencers in their decision. They're more apt to, if you have a group of 4 to 5 people with like, call it a CEO making the call who controls the purse strings, but 4 to 5 influencers, it's the 4 to 5 influencers that have a better shot of getting you the end sale than convincing the CEO. Because it's rare these days, it still exists, but it's rare these days that a CEO will go out on their own and just go, I'm making this call, to heck with everybody else in my organization. They really value everybody else and the decision making of everybody else in that organization and how this decision is going to affect them. So in the old days, they'd say, don't spend time with influencers. Well, that's not true. You need to influence everybody in terms of what it is you're offering to that, what their role in that organization is. So if you're offering a enterprise-wide software system for an organization, the chief financial officer or the head of payroll is affected by that purchase. They need to know what's in it for them. Okay, and they are not the final decision, but they are a key influencer in whether that enterprise software system goes into place.
What an outstanding overview. The leveling of corporate America. Today it's different, right? I mean, we have the internet, we have software, and in your guidance to organizations, what do you see out there? What are people using? And what do you recommend they use?
Well, I come back to an analogy that, do you remember the invention of the Palm Pilot? With the invention or the development of that, it didn't make people that much more organized. You're either innately organized or you're not. So you either put information into an electronic device to review it, or you put it on a pad of paper and your old date book. So that the act of learning that function, that skill in life hasn't changed. And so the act of being effective on the phone or selling, whether it was a 4-prong plug or a cell phone through Bluetooth today, that hasn't changed. The act of utilizing an effective list. Yes, we look at the list differently, but you still need to make an effective list. So if everybody took computers away from, say, our organization tomorrow, we would still be exceptionally effective because we're doing the core principles of effective communication via phone. We're narrowing a list intelligently. All right, so we're not just randomly throwing people into the funnel. We're going after companies and or people with a purpose of what we have could be valuable to them. So we're organizing lists. We are making phone calls, and we are taking notes, whether that's on a piece of paper and then referring back to that paper, or putting it into a contact
I get the
management
feeling some
system.
of this digital stuff is more for management to track you and see if you're working. Or
or
it can be a tool, but anyway, what'd you do today? And then you got this big printout or a big readout that comes out.
Right.
And maybe they think effectiveness, which goes back to what you said, it's not 100 or 10. It's which ones come up.
It's the movement inside the
funnel.
funnel. Yeah, that's
So the numbers
and the
game
tool
is
itself,
yeah.
the electronic tool itself, is not going to make you a better salesperson.
Yeah. And some people use that as a monitoring device of their employees, maybe.
Potentially.
Or it could be used as a tool to help them out.
It's an interesting question because I've not one of the challenges of my organization and we sell for other organizations.
Yes.
That's basically what we do.
Yeah.
Is trying to figure out how to report in a manner in which everybody can understand and absorb. And ironically, each organization is different in the information that they care about. But at the end of the day, they should really only care about a couple things in terms of sales reporting. All right, so all of these tools and all these bells and whistles for tracking are actually just that, bells and whistles. Really, the core hard data that anybody should care about is what have we moved forward? What's moved in the funnel this week or this month? What have we gotten to the point of proposal? All right, and that's not necessarily just a dollar figure. It's a who do we have at proposal?
Wow.
And then what do we know about that organization that we can influence them to move to sale? And then how much have we closed? Because at the end of the day, revenue in the door is the ultimate number. How much have we brought in the door? So if you're managing a sales force, those are really all the three metric that you should really care about. Now, here's the thing with proposal, and we call it at RAYN a sales diagnostic. Have you ever watched the show House?
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is their clear whiteboard, their glass that they ran on. And they basically go through a diagnostic of trying to figure out this rare disease that this person has. And they throw out theories and they try and dig in.
Yeah.
Well, we do the same thing in sales.
Yeah.
All right. We basically look at the situation at hand and we say, all right, what do we know about that organization that we've gotten them to either what we classify as, a potential versus a proposal level. What do we need to do to go from proposal or from potential to proposal? What do we know and what do we don't know? And then we need to go find out what we don't know so that we can establish our value against that. And it might be who's involved in the decision. What other influencers are there? What are their budget period? It's a question that's not often asked is, all right, number one, do you have budget? Sure. But more importantly, when does your budgeting occur? And if it doesn't occur until 7 months from now, do you have budget that's available between now and then that you can allocate to special projects or whatever? Wow. 3 levels of the same question, but if we don't know those things, then what's the point? So you can get somebody and go, gosh, I sent them a proposal, but it's not going anywhere. Yeah. Well, it's not going anywhere because number one, they're not the decision maker. Number two, they're not going to have any other budget for another 9 months. And number three, they've already implemented your competitor stuff to date, and they're trying that out. So we would go back, if we had have understood that before we developed the proposal, we would have understood that there's no point in giving you a proposal because you're 9 months from having money, you're testing something now, and we need to influence the other people. So,
and you don't say that, but
you don't say that. You just know that that's the diagnostic that you're trying to establish.
They appreciate the fact that you're logistically trying to fit into their superstructure.
Yeah.
You're not trying to invade their space.
Well, I have value, and I don't want to waste your time. Those are the two most important things.
Yeah, that you do have value.
Yeah.
And you do have value. Because
again,
you're bringing this to the table.
That's right. We're not selling anything. We're bringing something that's valuable.
And therein lies the crux of some organizations. They make their people sell, not provide service.
That's right.
So what about the pressure points? You remember the old days, how much did you sell this week? What did you do? Who'd you call? You're sort of doing that, but you're not doing it. You're doing it more on a constructive basis where you're acting as consultants and you're also consulting yourself in the process.
Yeah.
This is good. This is bad. We don't want to waste their time.
That's right.
Our time's valuable. Their time is valuable.
It's
mutual respect.
I tell our team every day it's equally as valuable to knock somebody out of the funnel as it is to sell
Now,
something.
sometimes it's hard to walk away from $1 million potential, but there is no $1 million potential if you're
right.
wasting their time and
Right.
you're wasting your time.
That's right.
Great philosophy. So I guess maybe there's companies that feel their salespeople are doing nothing. Sometimes it's scary. How do you motivate them? How do you get them going in the right direction?
Well, that would be an immature thought, I guess you would say. All right. So again, if every day a salesperson wakes up and they're putting their time into trying to move something forward, they're doing everything they're salaried for and more, and they should be rewarded for that.
Yeah.
If they're getting up and sending proposals to people without budget, or they're spending time with their existing customers, which happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit.
That's
I'm not
easy.
saying customer service isn't important.
Right.
I'm just saying it has a place. If they're spending a lot of time doing the easy thing, as opposed to trying to find new conversations to have with people, then maybe you should question what they're doing. But the pressure point, as you referred to it, really lies in what are we doing to move something forward every day? Because here's the thing. We call it actually a perfect storm at RAYN. We like to use a lot of weather analogies.
That's good.
If I knew tomorrow or even today what it is that made the sale, guess what? I would just do that every day.
Yeah.
And if I know who was going to buy tomorrow, I'd just call them. The problem is I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know who and I don't know what. Because for each sale, it's a different combination of things that actually gets it over the line.
Yeah.
So you have to do everything all the time to everyone in order to actually have that actionable event at the end, which is the sale, which is the contract in hand or whatever. And so it involves, marketing to them, cold calling, prospecting, influencing decision makers, and there's just a whole litany of things that you have to do. Developing a relationship, networking, understanding how decisions are made, understanding their budgetary process, and then working with them over time, convincing them, developing a relationship, challenging them on their thoughts in order to benefit their business. All of that goes into the sales process. And if you don't do all of those things all the time, you're not likely to get the sale.
What you're saying is like Stephen Covey. There's a moral compass underneath this. You're cheating your employer if you're just wasting time. You're cheating the customer because you're really not interested in helping them.
And at the end of the day, you're cheating yourself.
Yeah. The company could be cheating the customer because their product doesn't fit. It's like sell, sell, sell. So this is a symbiotic relationship between all these entities.
Yeah.
And everybody benefits.
Yes.
Everybody.
That's
Yeah.
right. At
company,
some
the
time. They may not
salesperson.
know it. Out of 10 people,
Yeah.
7 of them won't know it at that time.
Yeah.
But there's no point in calling on 10 that couldn't benefit from it.
Yeah.
And they'll come around if you're doing all of those things all the time.
Yeah. You were referring to the internet, social media. Does that stuff work? Just asking.
Well,
I don't know. I'm
come back to the.
You're the expert. What is it really? Is it really working?
It's no different than going to the social club and having a drink.
Okay.
It's no different than that.
Yeah.
In that, people of today have said, I want to communicate through this channel. So there's multiple social clubs in town, right? Erie Club, Anacor, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So people select a club based on whatever their own personality is and whatever, and where they like to hang out and whatever. It's exactly how a social media channel is selected. They like it because of what it offers, the communication style, the different things that are there, and their friends are all there, right? So social media can work in that you should be having conversations in the manner in which you would at a club. You don't walk into that club and go, hey, I got this for you today, and just start trying to bombard them with sales, right?
Yeah.
That's not how.
You might get kicked out of the club.
You'll be out of that social situation really quick, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly the same way,
yeah.
right? It's sales to me. It's not a great analogy, but sometimes it's like dating.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
And ironically, the best salespeople are considered the best conversationalists, and the best conversationalists are not those that talk a lot. The best conversationalists are those that ask a lot of open-ended questions because they're interested. They're genuinely, let me repeat, genuinely interested in what the other person has to say and what their needs are. That's how you end up getting a date. That's how you end up securing a good relationship, end up getting married, and have a long-term relationship. Most importantly, put the other person first before yourself.
Oh, sure, because you're fulfilling needs as the sales, marketing, or the provider.
And so back to your original question, social media absolutely works if you have the right conversation or become the right conversationalist in the channel or the area that you're speaking in or interacting in.
Yeah.
Whether it be Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever.
So and so you look at data from the internet somehow? How do you analyze?
I do.
How do you analyze what you're getting off the web?
So one of the best technology advances to date for salespeople has been that you can actually identify the company, and it's about 30 to 35% of the companies that are reviewing your website. All right, so everybody talks about we need a website. Then pretty much I would say probably 95% of all companies have a website. Then now they're talking about we need a better website. Okay, well these are all true statements.
Yeah.
All a website is a 24/7 salesperson that basically, if somebody arrives at your web location, which ironically is your business address, just happens to be on the internet superhighway as opposed to off Peach Street, right? If they arrive at your business, how do you want to represent yourself? Do you want to look good? Do you want your place clean? Do you want it easily understandable when somebody walks in on where to go and who to talk to? Probably, right? That's all a website is. Now, here's the thing. When somebody came to a retail location, a brick and mortar store, we could actually physically see them in the store. So we're like, oh, we know who to talk to, right? Because he's there. And then when he leaves, hopefully you've gotten their name or whatever. You can follow up with them. Traditional. Nowadays, through reverse IP lookup, and because companies are actually getting their own dedicated, say, T1 lines and what have you.
Yeah, big pipe, right?
Yeah, I can identify the company that's reviewing your website. And so, and that's about 30 to 35% of them. So out of 100 companies that come to your website and look at it, 30 to 35 of them have an identifiable T1 line or whatever that I can say, all right, Erie Insurance was on here. And they looked at this type of information, and they were on it for this long, and they came in off this keyword, which gives you some insight into their self-selection process on what they were thinking of. That's the search side of things. Here's the problem. I don't know it was John Smith at Erie Insurance. So now what do you do? Well, what we do is we cross-reference with other databases that are available online. Jigsaw.com is a free one that's available through Salesforce.com. And you can actually look up key contacts within the company. And you basically call in and say, somebody was requesting information on our company. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make out whom, but I figured you're a great place to start. Could you at least help me figure out, who might need our service? The hospitality of people innately is actually high. And we get more return calls and more return emails for somebody trying to help us find the right person than if we just called in and say, I have this to offer you. And then we start the conversation with the right person after we learn who the right person is for that project. Now, that right person may not have been the actual person doing the research on your website, but we don't care at that point.
No.
We don't.
But you've used the information you've gleaned from having looked at who's looking at you.
Right, because they wouldn't do that just for fun.
Yeah, they may have been told by their boss, or they are the boss.
Right, I have a good story of an intern looking at a project out of Florida. It was a wound care company down in Florida, and we were selling for a stainless steel processing firm out of central Wisconsin. They made tanks and different things for plants. And the intern looked at a paper that we had written. We offered free content on our website. And we called into that intern, and your traditional salesperson, your senior level salesperson would look at the title of the person because they actually left their information and say, I'm not going to call that person because why? They're just an intern. Well, we call everybody that shows interest. Well, it turns out that intern was, in fact, assigned by the director of engineering a research project to learn more about systems that they needed in their plant. And we closed a $360,000 system off that one lead.
Excellent, excellent. The problem with somehow I get nervous when a salesperson calls me on the phone, even though essentially they might have something that I need.
Yep.
Is there something missing the way people talk to you, salespeople talk to you? And how do you rectify that? Or what's your thoughts on that? Are salespeople saying the right thing? Are they saying it well?
If they're saying it themselves, then they're saying it wrong. All right, so it might be a way. The way we say it is, we've been doing a lot of work for companies like you lately in this type of area. Maybe you're seeing that as a problem. I don't know. And in fact, we did this kind of install, XYZ install, and it resulted in this much increase in productivity. Just thought you might find that interesting. Love to talk to you more about that. It's the company you've done work for that's saying we've had these good results working with this firm. So naturally, as a salesperson, I'm going to tell you how. They put up the walls because they're thinking you're going to tell me how great your product is or how great you are. Well, when you change the conversation and say it's not me saying it, it's somebody like you saying it. Well, now it's a message that I can absorb and understand, and we really just want to hear about. Everybody has problems inside their own organization that all of these things are designed to solve. It's finding who has the problem right now that relates to what you have to sell. That's all. And so that's where the numbers come into play and movement in the funnel. You have to talk to 10 different people in order to get to discover 3 that actually have the problem that you can solve.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's on the other end of the phone. I've done a little bit of research. I understand what your company does. What we do is this, and generally we work with companies like yours, and we've had success with other companies like yours. And you may not be primed to need that right now, but I'm saying the right things, and at some time you will need me. And so, again, movement in the funnel, those 10 people that you intelligently went after, 7 of them aren't needing you right now. So they'll go out of the funnel for right now. But they may come back in at another time that you might rework them. And it's all about spending time on the right things.
You're sharing in this company's profitability by doing this. You're helping them because once they get better at what they do, they have more need for what you do.
What a better
consultant.
I mean, think about if you're selling engineers. If the engineer's tasked with improving the efficiency of that organization, if your item, service, or whatever actually helps them improve the efficiency, you make them look great.
It all works.
They get a raise. They get a bonus. Like their organization improves. That's a winning exchange.
Chris Rudd is a consulting expert, sales, market. You do everything on that side, but your firm basically is a consulting firm from that point. But you also do exploration, so to speak. You do some of the hardcore work.
Yeah.
Hardcore work, literally, physically, for folks that are lean on that. And your company, Go Make RAYN, is that how you RAYN?
RAYN Business Development website, gomakerayn.com.
Yeah, so
RAYN.
Yeah. And the subsequent value to this interview is that it puts a different perspective or spin on how people should think about their sales and marketing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with being pragmatic, right, Chris?
That's right.
Excellent interview. Thank you for your time and your insight. We thoroughly appreciate your visit to WQLN today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the time.